being in that position from the creator side is that it takes those tendencies and rewards them. So I think when people look and say, why is this person acting this way? It's kind of, they've also kind of been trained to do that. Whatever natural tendencies they had, it was absolutely reinforced. It's like looking at SQC and saying, why is he getting, why is he getting mad and flying off the handle? It's like, well, that's certainly a part of his personality, but he's also gotten to where he is by making that by overemphasizing that and making it part of his public persona, his performance. So I don't know. I think Josh Strife had a good take on it. I think he had a good take on it because there's the part where there's the issue and then there's how the internet as a whole responds to a person. And that's the tricky part because I am super on the side of consumer rights. And I think, this is not a hot take, at least not to me, but software as a whole is in the position that it's in because there are almost no consumer protection laws, because things that would be considered fraud in many other like realms of saleable products are considered absolutely de rigueur. Those are considered just day-to-day stuff, right? Like if you buy a game or a piece of software day one and it doesn't work out of the box, it's just doesn't work. That's completely to be expected, right? They're like, yeah, the product that went gold is basically unplayable, or maybe literally unplayable, because they had to go gold, issued day one patch. That's considered acceptable in the world of software, right? In a lot of other fields, if you shipped a defective product and put it on a shelf and sold it, that's that's legally going to put you in hot water. But in software, and especially in games, the people just kind of shrug and say, what are you going to do? Because we tolerate that. We don't just tolerate it, we kind of expect it. The bar is that low. And I remember like mentioning this. I think I was in like Primogen's chat, and somebody who was like, somebody who was a software developer was like, why are you talking bad on software? I'm like, well, are you a hardware person? And I was like, no, I'm in software. I want software to be better. And he was like, well, why are you full of self-loathing? It's like, and it's like, no, I want my field to be better. I want things to be better. I want software to be better. That's what I think being an engineer means. But this person and a lot of people see it as a team sport where they just want to be told one side is right and one side is wrong, and then pick their side, and then they want to, win. And for some people, that means arguing things that it's being disingenuous. For some people, that means harassment and terrible things. And Josh Strife goes into that in a lot more detail. But I think that's like the flip side of this, is that I think that in this case, there's a reasonable position in the middle where there is a way to pass some sort of consumer protection law to hold companies to a higher standard that they're not really being held to now, because basically anything goes, and something that is practically enforceable in the real world, which is, from what I've seen, kind of one of the main objections that people opposed to Stop Killing Games is that it's legal regulation being proposed by people who don't have a ton of experience in regulation, and so their vision of what's going to happen is not especially realistic. And that's a fair criticism. I don't think it's necessarily like a reason we shouldn't pursue anything. I think in general it's a good idea, but one concern is that there's a lot of games that are technically playable even when their servers go down. It just doesn't have any real meaning, right? Yeah, like stuff like The Crew is, I think, a decent example, right? Like just here, I didn't know about it, and I think, there's a legitimate concern to say, hey, there's no practical reason why the single player is now disabled, other than they coded it this way and had no incentive not to. Because there was a phase, I think The Crew is part of that, where every single platform wanted their own, or every single company wanted their own There was a period where I think every single company wanted their own login, whether it was, Ubisoft, ResidentEvil.net, I remember was a thing. Konami had their own log. Yeah, everybody had their own login. So if there's one takeaway I have, it's this. It's listen to reasonable people. Don't fly off the handle. Don't harass somebody. Don't just dogpile them just because you think you're justified. Because then I think you contribute to a problem on the internet where people are not caring about the issue. They're caring about getting into some tribal mentality, picking a side, and then just fighting the other side. And that's the reason that's a huge problem on the internet, I think, is because it feels good to be on what you think is the right side. And that sense of self-righteousness kind of gives you a rush, right? That's just making the internet a worse place. And if you actually care about the issue, I think it is genuinely harmful in the way that it prevents you from getting things done. So I don't know the guy. I'm not going to comment on the guy, but anytime somebody says, "Oh, I heard X is a terrible person," I stop and think, okay, let's break that down. What does that mean? What are you saying? Where'd you hear that? And what does the person telling you that stand to gain from it? So stop and think, be kind to people, and hopefully in the end, cooler heads will prevail.